the universe and where we came from and how we got here and things like that. And it's really reassuring and comforting in some ways when I think about, like, if we do get all blown up in like a nuclear explosion and stuff, the earth will probably still continue. I mean, on some level, some kind of life, maybe. And, then I think about, like we as humans evolved from a lesser form. So I'm thinking, even if we die, then there's probably some animal on the planet that will be just like us. I mean, maybe they might have like a dog head or something, but, and even if the earth it just explodes, then, in the grand scheme of things, big deal. The Milky Way would barely notice. The universe would barely notice if the Milky Way disappeared. So, that's all kind of reassuring to me, that I don't, that I don't want to say life is meaningless, because I don't think that's true, but I also don't think it's that big of a deal,
Holy shit, guys. Welcome to the Accelerativ Thrust podcast. I'm Dan.
And I'm Eric.
And you just maybe possibly heard us ramble on for, God, what has it been?
I don't know, 20 minutes probably.
20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
But, that 20 minutes, you might have actually only heard 5 minutes of it, depending on what Eric decides.
30 seconds. I don't know. We'll see.
30 seconds. Who knows? Yeah, it's been a hell of a week or 2 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever it has been for everyone.
Yeah, I didn't find much news happening, unfortunately. Did you
the only thing
chance?
that I've really, no, not really. The only thing that I really have been sort of following is that Kanye mess, which is the news is a Kanye mess all the time. So
yeah, it's like we used to talk about Kanye a lot on here because it was like it was so wild and like strange and stuff. And I kind of feel like now it's not even worth talking about, like not going into detail anyway. It's just like,
agree.
This has gone too far.
But here's the thing though, is I don't even think by the time that we started talking about it, I don't even think it was crazy or anything even then. Like, no. I think Kanye had already cemented himself as whatever the hell Kanye is.
Yeah.
He honestly probably 10 years at this point. It's kind of there were sort of little like, buildups like about 10 years ago. And I would say even like 5 years ago, you could still say that he was what he is now. You know what I mean? Which is Kanye West. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Kanye. It's like what else can you say? And yes, I don't even want to go into the details about everyone knows what happened. There's no reason.
By the time they hear this in a few days, some other crazy shit might happen. Yeah. And then they'll all be like, what the fuck? They're just going to leave it at, we all know what happened.
Yeah, we all know what happened. Well, you know what? We're not in the future predicting business. You know what I mean? We're not prophets.
Hell, we haven't made any money.
Yeah, we haven't made any money, which brings me to another point. Oh. If you want to help us make money at Accelerativ Thrust, you should just send it to us. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all you got to do. I mean, if
are you going to give your address out to everyone? Or what?
Well, I was thinking maybe we could just meet up somewhere,
Meet in the Casey's parking lot.
Yeah, meet in the Casey's parking lot in Nichols.
You know how many pieces of gear I've bought at Casey's parking lots? Probably only like 3, but still, it's hilarious that everyone's just bought
pieces of gear in a Casey's parking lot.
Yeah, like Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and stuff. everyone is always like, let's meet at the Casey's parking lot or
Really?
Walmart parking lot. Yeah, it's really funny.
Did you at least grab a slice of pizza while you were there too?
I mean, probably. I don't know.
Oh,
I haven't
okay.
bought anything in a while.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Huh. You mean like music gear?
Yeah.
Or
Uh-huh.
really? I never
Yeah.
knew that people on Craigslist and I thought they just sent it to you.
Oh, no,
Like,
usually meet up, and a lot of people don't want other people knowing where they live.
Where was it you think we met? At your house, don't you remember?
yeah, I guess that's true. I guess I just been thinking about like eBay or something where
Oh, yeah.
but the thing is whenever I buy off of eBay or Amazon, I'm buying from like a usually buying from a company,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. It's kind of scary out there sometimes. I got ripped off on Facebook a while back.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody was offering a pedal, and it was a cool pedal.
Mhm.
And it was a really good price, and I should have known that it was a scam, but I didn't. And I sent him money, and then figured out it was a total scam. So, guys, if you're on the Iowa buy sell gear page or Iowa music equipment or whatever on Facebook, and you see a pedal that's amazing or an amp or a guitar, and it's like the guy is like, oh, I just inherited this. I don't even know what it is. I'll sell it to you for $40. Like, don't do it. You know,
Wow.
unless you're gonna meet up and not give them the money till you have the thing. But
Sure.
they
Were
always
you
are
able
like,
to get your money back and everything?
no, I wasn't.
Oh, that
Because
sucks.
it was like I agreed to pay the person, like with
Sure.
PayPal. So whatever. But yeah. So if you're looking for a Shinai companion fuzz wah like Jesus and Mary Chain used, and it's only like $80, don't order it.
How much is it usually?
Probably like $400.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is a really good deal. Wow.
That's what I thought.
You
Yeah.
know, okay, so check this out. I have kind of a similar story, although not as sorry that happened to you.
It's okay.
I mean, seriously,
you
that's-
live and you learn, and
Yeah, that really
and
sucks.
now I know. So whatever.
So I actually have a friend who had a friend who inherited a Travis Bean bass.
Oh wow. Yeah,
which
nice.
those things, go for a huge amount of money. And actually, he was a friend of the show's, Brian Barr,
Mhm.
and he took it to Brian, and Brian was just like, he gave you this because it was literally like, I don't know, like I don't know how much it was. I want to say it was like an $8,000 bass or something.
Wow.
Like just
Yeah.
crazy. But he ended up selling it and got like pretty much every bit of what it's worth. But
Mhm.
then he invested in like some really cool like equipment. And so he makes music because of the fact that he bought all of this equipment, with
Yeah.
the money that he got from the bass.
Sure.
It would be cool to keep the bass, but at the end of the day, I would rather have, a bunch of other stuff. And
For
so
sure.
he records stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, so
Yeah.
that kind of, I guess, well, I mean, that's a situation where somebody inherited something for real. Just kind of when you said, oh yeah, I inherited this pedal.
Found this
reminded
in
me of
my attic. I don't know. Must be the last people who lived here. Guess I'll take $20 for it.
Yeah. I've definitely gotten ripped off.
Nonsense.
Oh my gosh, do we
All
need
right.
to talk about some music?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, wow. We really got off. We took our heads off for the opening.
We
level.
lost our minds.
We lost our minds. There we go. That would have been a way better way to phrase that.
Let's get to these records.
Come on, everybody, it's record time.
Oh my God. Oh, I have to talk about records.
Yes. Or
All
a
right.
record.
A record.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay.
Okay. The record I picked for this episode is by a group called Kill Alters. The record is called Armed to the Teeth. LMOMM. And I don't know what that acronym means, but that's okay. And it came out this year, not exactly sure. It's kind of I don't know, we're getting towards the end of the year, so it could be kind of old, whatever. Okay, so Kill Alters. Kill Alters is a New York-based group. Their band leader and composer is named Bonnie Baxter. She's also a part of the bands Prolapse and Machine Girl, which is how I found this because I really like Machine Girl. Also in the group is Nikos Kennedy, who does synths and electronics and stuff. And then Hisham Barucha, who is a drummer and has played with Black Dice, Lightning Bolt, and the Boredoms, and I'm sure all kinds of other stuff. So this record I thought it was really cool. I really did. I had a lot of fun listening to it. It is, I don't know, it's dark and it's funky and it's noisy, it's wild, it's kind of scary, and it has a little bit of a cut up feel to it that sometimes can play as somewhat humorous. I loved it. It's a really dense production. The songs seem to be basically fully constructed with samples and drum machines, and also live drums, but the core of the music itself seems to be sample derived, which is awesome. And it's something that doesn't happen all that often. But yeah, there in the course of the music, there's constant modulation, just constant delay and spiraling sound as far as the balance goes, like panning left and right. It's always like swirling, it's disorienting. It is pretty aggressive sounding at times for sure. I think you could definitely, you wouldn't be wrong to say like that this is very much like digital hardcore or hyperpop or doom trap or dub or any of that stuff. And especially the digital hardcore element of it. Vocally, it's a bit like that Mimi Barks record that we reviewed a while back, a little bit like Atari Teenage Riot. It's delivered in a really hip hop sort of way at times, but definitely always a little strange, like how Die Antwoord would be considered hip hop. It's not quite there. But it's hard to describe the music because it is really aggressive, but it's also, I thought, really fun and interesting and weird. And all those musical styles that I mentioned, I think are accurate. But for me, this really feels like a take on techno and dance music, and especially gabber, which I'm a huge fan of. I don't talk about it very much because literally no one else I've ever met in my life is into gabber at all. Basically, it's a super fast, intense sort of techno. Like the BPMs are crazy fast. It's like the thrash version of techno. And it's basically designed, I don't know, to give ravers heart attacks. So it's really good stuff. But with this record, honestly, the thing that it made me think of the most, and this is another one of my favorite groups, which I don't think bring up very often, which is My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. I just love them. I see Good Spirits, I see Bad Spirits. I especially love Confessions of a Knife. Both are amazing records. And for whatever reason, Kill Alters reminded me a lot of that. Not necessarily the whole time musically, but a lot of the time musically. And the way it's presented, and the vocals and how it's sort of like kinky. Like Thrill Kill Cult was kind of always kinky, like this was all mixed together. It was like cults and murder and the devil and also, like fetish stuff and like all that. I don't know. I think this has a similar feel to it. It's super dark. It's tongue in cheek at times, sample based. And so I know that a lot of older people listen to our show probably because, that's, I'm sure who we appeal to because we are you.
Boomer tape.
And so I would say, honestly, if you like digital hardcore and you like the Real Kill Cult, you can't really do much better than this. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is pretty intense. Electronic noise, techno kind of hip hop stuff. And I don't really know how else to describe that. So if that sounds cool, I think you'll really like it. What do you think, Dan?
Yes, I thought this was a very cool record, man. It really kept me on the edge of my seat. It almost felt like listening to a sort of fast-paced action movie, kind of, in a weird sort of way, which like a really good action movie, or sci-fi movie or something. It just gave me that sort of, I don't know. It had a sense of excitement. I think all of the things you said about comparing it to Gabber and digital hardcore, which I'm vaguely familiar with Gabber. I've sort of listened to some of it. I like what I've heard. I've never really done a deep dive. But definitely the digital hardcore element, Atari Teenage Riot, is there. Yeah, there's just a lot of stuff going on. Industrial goth, like you said, very cut and paste sort of sample, and some really cool like soundscapes going on, especially during these like interludes, which of course go hand in hand with the samples. I really like the vocals. I agree 100% that they reminded me a lot of Mimi Barks, for sure. I also like the way that the vocals were kind of almost buried in the mix. I think it served the music like really well, or at least that's kind of how it sounded to me, which kind of gave an effect, from my perception, that the vocals were almost being used as almost like another instrument, if that makes any sense. Like another, like, I don't know, it was kind of almost going hand in hand with the music. I can't really explain what type of music this is 100%. I mean, I definitely think it's got it checks a lot of boxes as far as like industrial. There's some noise rock elements for sure. Even some metal kind of going on, but definitely, yeah. Now that I didn't really think about it when I was listening to it, Eric, but you're totally right about how there's definitely a hip hop element to it. Like it really is kind of, the presentation has like a sort of a hip hop feel to it. Like I would not be surprised if they were all very influenced by hip hop. Like especially like, I would say if you're into like sort of like the Death Grips type stuff, or Dalek, sure, or something like that, or even like LP, or Run the Jewels or something like that. Really sort of like fast paced, sort of, like I said, like, I guess like action sounding hip hop. I know that sounds really cheesy to say, but that's kind of what I think of when I, like it's good workout music or something, there are parts of this that reminded me of the sort of experimentation of like Throbbing Gristle at times. But definitely like Alec Empire, Atari Teenage Riot. I would also say that's not really, it wouldn't be too, out of the box to say that there might be some Nine Inch Nails fans that would appreciate this as well.
Sure.
Skinny Puppy, even some like Big Black sort of influence. Just that's more sort of with the electronic drum element that's going on. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really entertaining and really interesting record. The beats were insane. Everything was really executed very, very well. So yeah, if you're really into like everything that Eric and I talked about, I see no reason why you wouldn't just love this record. And also My Life with a Thrill Kill Cult. Definitely feel that. I didn't think about it, when I was writing down my notes and everything, but That is 100% spot on for sure. I've definitely
Nice.
listened to Thrill Kill Colt in my time. Haven't in a long time, but or maybe even KMFDM also. That's another one that sort of comes to mind somewhat.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really good selection. I really, really enjoyed it. I also really like the name Kill Alters.
Yeah. Good name.
I do wonder what the acronym is. LMOMM.
Not sure.
I like how that kind of there seems to be a mystery element to that. Like, I wonder if they purposely left that vague, you know? Or if
Yeah.
there's something that the listener is supposed to pick up on or something.
I don't know. The last track is called LMOMM. And
Yeah.
I think I don't remember them really spelling it out or saying it. I don't know. So
Yeah, no, me neither. Yeah,
Nice.
It's really interesting. Okay, so one thing that I now noticed is that this is actually our music selections. I mean, the fact that two of the picks, thanks to myself, are hip hop.
Yeah.
But also Kill Alters has that hip hop element to
Yeah.
it. This is kind of a hip hop centric episode.
It's
little
funny. It happens, like
Yeah.
we'll have episodes where it's like, oh, we did all noise this time, or
Yeah.
just whatever. But it happens. Sometimes all three are
Absolutely.
completely damn different too. So who knows?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I agree. This is a hip hoppy episode.
Yeah. It's we're talking about hip hop.
Yeah. It's hip hopping.
Hip hopping in the most hip hopping podcast your way. Okay, anyway. I'm gonna go off on a tangent if I don't stop.
All right.
So enough screwing around.
Do your goddamn
pick-
job, Dan.
I will, I swear. Okay, so my pick is from an MC called Quelle Chris. The name of this record is Death Fame. Now, Quelle Chris is an MC from Detroit. And one of the things that is really cool is I found out that he is married to Jean Grey, who is, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Jean Grey, she is an awesome MC in her own right. So I would just kind of say this just to get this out of the way. If you like Quelle Chris, if you listen to this and you really like this record, you should also check out some Jean Grey, because I do feel like, they probably share some fans. Not just because of the marriage, but also because they kind of come from the same. I feel like they come from sort of the same sort of realm of hip hop, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
This album, in my opinion, is incredible. It almost feels it almost feels non-genuine to call it a hip hop record at times, because it's not completely a hip hop record. There's a kind of a lot of things going on here. It starts off very soulful with, actually, to be honest, it doesn't even really resemble a hip hop record, other than the fact that there's a beat kind of going on, until about 2 minutes into the song. And that's Alive Ain't Always Living, which is the first proper, because there's an intro track, but Alive Ain't Always Living, for about the first 2.5 minutes, it's singing. It's very soulful.
Mm-hmm.
And the production on it right off the bat is kind of dusty, and sort of just it's got this sort of graininess to it that I really, really like. Very raw sounding. But then he starts rapping, and but then goes back to the singing. He kind of does this all throughout the record. There's a lot of kind of like changes in voice and things like that he does that I really like. And then out of nowhere, after that track, it's about a 4-minute track, it goes into this completely just cold, mechanical, industrial sounding, deranged beat that, I mean, in all honesty, I've never heard anything like it in hip hop before. It's really, really great in my opinion. That's called King in Black. And I don't know, I can't even describe the beat. It's just, to me, it's just, it's mind blowing to me. I really enjoy it. And then it just kind of goes into everything from there. There's definitely elements of boom bap or sort of like underground hip hop, to this. I would say some of the like New York City or East Coast style jazz, which he does have affiliations with Jay Dilla. I come to find out that I think Dilla might have produced some of his earlier work. And Quelle has also appeared on a lot of Danny Brown stuff. And so there's kind of that influence on here too, I think. And then there's also like parts of it that are very just, I don't know, I can't think of any other way to describe it other than like soul or R&B, because there are songs where he does pretty much little to no rapping. But then all of a sudden that'll kind of, the next track after following that track will turn into some kind of posse cut or something. And it's really great. He does a lot of stuff with his voice that I really, really like. Sometimes he raps in this really sort of like low end voice. And I'm not sure if he's using effects on it or not. I kind of think he might just kind of change his voice a lot. He'll kind of do that, and then he'll do this sort of nasally high pitched, which I think is kind of his normal rapping voice. That, the one rapper I could compare it to is like Q-Tip. And then he'll do some R&B singing, and there's just a lot kind of going on. Like, I know this is going to sound kind of like a strange comparison, but it's almost like at times this record reminds me of like if the pod version of Weed made a rap record. I know that that's kind of a ridiculous comparison, but I don't know. To me, I don't think it's really too far from that. But yeah, I think it's incredibly raw, but it's also not. When I say raw, it's like there's also just a lot of beauty to it, a lot of really great samples, fantastic beats. The production is definitely a little grimy, which is what I like. But so I don't want to, I don't want to make it sound like it's like NYC East Coast hardcore hip hop by saying that it's kind of a little dusty or grimy. I just think that that's kind of an overall sort of effect of the record. I mean, I would say if you like Outcasts, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, stuff like that, especially with Outcast, the fact that he goes from like singing to rapping a lot and kind of does all these like different voices. A lot of it does remind me of like Andre 3000, especially like on the Love Below album and stuff like that. I would also say Kendrick Lamar. I hear a lot of Kendrick Lamar going on here for sure. But overall, Quelle Chris is definitely 100% in his own lane. And, this is just this is just a fantastic, hip hop record. Like I said, I wouldn't even necessarily call it hip hop all the way through. But I mean, that is what most of it is. But it's done in a way that really just puts Quelle in his own lane. I really enjoy it. What did you think, Eric?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I had never heard of it before. And so that means I probably have some work to do to catch up. But yeah, I really enjoyed the production as well. The beats and samples and everything were really, I don't know how to say it, really deep and cool, like just really cool beats and the samples used. It is so gritty though, like it's almost lo-fi. And the other element of it that was strange was that it has like a compression sound to it. Like
Yes.
Here's how I described it in my notes, okay? It sounds like music downloaded from Napster underwater at a bad transfer rate. That's how it sounded to me. Like it seriously sounded
that is
compressed, like that compression sound of, Napster when you had a shitty transfer rate. But it works. It works in a weird way. It works in an almost found sound sort of way. Like we want this sound and we're going to use this sound and we're going to get it however we can get it, And so it kind of worked for me. At first I was like, what is going on here? I don't understand any of this. But yeah, it ends up working really well and being kind of cool and different. But like Dan said, it starts out a little differently than how it ends up. And when it first started, this is going to sound weird, but like I said, I had no understanding of Quelle Chris, and no, I didn't know anything about it. And so I thought at first it was going to be sort of like conscious rap, actually. It sounded like with the singing and the soul music and sort of what he's talking about in that second track. I was like, okay, so this is what we're in store for. That's fine. But then it does change real quickly and stays real weird. And I'll get into this a little later with our next review, but when it comes to hip hop, the weirder it is, the easier it is for me to latch onto it. And so I really enjoyed it. And one of the things I liked a lot about it too, like Dan said, was the vocal manipulations. And I definitely feel that those are pitch shifted vocals. When he does like this lower, almost demonic sounding rapping, it's really cool. It's pitch shifted down. Sometimes there's pitch shifted harmonies that sound kind of like D'Angelo, like that level of pitch shifted harmonies. There's phaser and chorus effects added to like almost everything. Like again, kind of like Kill Alters, it has this kind of constantly swirling feel to it, which is awesome. For me, the pinnacle of the weirdness kind of happens with the song "How Could They Love Something Like Me." It's like a piano song with singing over it. That is, I don't want to say poorly executed, because I don't think it was a miss or a fail. I think it's done exactly how they wanted to do it, but it's off-putting in a way. The way that it's presented, it's strange. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But also kind of like pretty and well done. It reminded me of Moondog, if you ever listen to Moondog, that track in particular. The rest of it reminded me of stuff that I guess sort of would make sense. Saul Williams, Danny Brown, that Cloud Dead group that we reviewed a while back, that kind of stuff. 3-6 Mafia, maybe just with the vocal kind of manipulations. Gravediggers a lot, actually, for me. The music and the vocals reminded me of Gravediggers. And one of the weird ones for me, if you listen to just the music, it's very much like Soul Coughing, which is weird. I don't know if Dan would agree with me on that, but the way the samples are constructed and built upon, it reminded me of Soul Coughing a lot. And yeah, I loved it, especially the last track, Excuse My Back, it's called. And yeah, I think I'll definitely be going back and listening to this more and listening to more from Quelle Chris, because it surprised me. And honestly, anytime something surprises me, it gets multiple listens from me. So yeah, I loved it.
I would definitely agree that that track that I mentioned, King in Black, had a major soul coughing element to it. Like,
yeah, it's like that New York jazz thing.
New York jazz, but also done in a very deranged
right
sort of way. Like because that beat does not make any sense as a hip hop beat. And that's what I love about it. I feel like there were a lot of musical choices on this record that they were purposely, I don't want to say off-putting, but like, yeah, I think they were. I think what it was is, I feel like, and maybe this isn't as deep as Quelle's intentions were, but I feel like with this project anyway, and I'm like you, Eric. I have not listened to any of his other catalog, so I don't have anything to go off of here, really. But it does seem like he was really trying to sort of almost like mess with the listener's ears a little bit, or just kind of making them have to work for what's going on musically. Or maybe it was just him having fun. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard telling. So that brings us to our local pick.
And it's local.
It is.
Which happens to also be hip hop. And that is from Teller Banks and Ed Glorious. And this record is called D.i.y. And in a much different way, I also feel like this is actually an incredible record. And to be honest with you, I think it's great that it's coming from the Des Moines area. He is from Des Moines, and in his biography on Bandcamp, it says that he is a father and a magician, which is really cool as well. It does look like he's been kind of doing this for quite a while, judging from there's a bunch of other releases on his Spotify and Bandcamp page that I have not listened to, but I have put on my playlist that I plan on getting to. But anyway, to me, this is a really well done hip hop record with some really, really great lyrics and really great flow, great production. It's definitely a lot more straightforward, I would say, than the Quelle Chris record. But there is also some really interesting things that are done on this record that I don't necessarily always hear in hip hop, especially modern day hip hop. I will say I've listened to this probably about 4 or 5 times now. And I will have to admit, it did take me a couple of listens to really, I guess, kind of get it. I'm not really sure why that is, but I really started to really like this record after a couple of listens. It's similar to the Quelle Chris record, actually, in that it starts off kind of different than where it ends up. I wouldn't say it's as extreme as Quelle Chris, but it definitely is a consistent, I guess, more of a consistent record. But it definitely starts off, I would say, with, I guess, what I would kind of describe as a more modern sound in hip hop. I think Ed Glorious, the beats that he supplies, I think, work really well with Teller's style on this project. But it kind of starts off like, I don't know, like the opening track, Friends. I kind of feel has almost like a it just sort of seems like the lyrical theme is maybe just sort of like finding oneself through your art. In Teller's case, of course, his rap music, and then just kind of, questioning the commitment that his friends may have with him, and how much maybe they're getting into his art, or how much support is actually maybe being given or whatever. And that's just kind of my interpretation. I'm not sure if that's what he was going for, but that's sort of, because I really like the lyrics to that track. And then it kind of starts to get darker, I feel, as the album goes on. There's the track Demons, where even the sound of Teller's voice, and this is where I could definitely, again, I hate kind of going back and comparing, Quelle's album to this as well, but this is kind of where I feel like you could say that there's some similarities to the two records. The tone of his voice really changes on that song, to where he's almost like, I don't know, almost like screaming or almost like yelling, and has this, I think maybe he was actually trying to sound like a literal demon when he was rapping. So there is kind of like a horrorcore element to it. But overall, I would say from front to back, this record is a really good sort of mixture of taking like some sort of like old school, like dark boom bap sort of beats or like underground kind of beats, and then just mixing it with like a modern twist. I feel like this is kind of a healthy, like sort of combination of both. Like, I kind of feel like somebody who's into like, I don't know, like Tribe Called Quest or Nas or something like that could really appreciate this. But then on the other hand, I feel like somebody who might be into like Vince Staples or Odd Future or Joey Badass or something like that, rappers from like the younger generation could also appreciate this. I kind of feel like in a weird sort of way, I feel like there's kind of something for every type of hip hop fan on here. And that's what I really like about it. I think that I think it's executed really well. There does seem to be a theme, again, kind of with him sort of maybe questioning his place in the world as an artist, and also just kind of overall trying to overcome, like his demons and stuff like that. And yeah, I just really like it. I really enjoyed this project. What did you think, Eric?
Yeah, I liked it too. Like I was saying a little bit earlier, unfortunately, I feel like the straighter that hip hop is presented, like the more straightforward it is, the less I actually understand what's happening or have a frame of reference for it, just because I haven't spent a lot of time listening to that stuff at all. So I'll just kind of comment on what I heard and how I heard it, and that's about it. I probably won't make very many comparisons and stuff because they would be inaccurate. So yeah, like I said, I feel like this was pretty straightforward hip hop. And like you said, it does get darker as it goes on. I also listened to this multiple times, probably 3 times now. And at first, yeah, I don't think I understood what I was hearing, to be honest. I was just like, okay, I guess I get it. But then I had to keep going back because I was like, that I think I'm wrong. And I was. Like, there's a lot going on here. Um there the thing about it that really worked for me, it's very minimal, like for real minimal. Like the samples are beyond sparse. There's like barely anything there. It might be like a twinkle on some piano keys, or it might be just like an organ sound or something, but I don't know how they chose those samples to be the foundation of the song. You know what I mean? Because it's just um like I said, it's just so sparse. Then they put the beats on top of that. The beats become really front and center. Most of the time, like Dan said, I feel like it's kind of boom bap kind of sound. I do think we get into some like more trap style hi-hat work and stuff like that. But yeah, the samples are so cool. They're scratchy, lo-fi. Like I said, they're barely there. It adds a really dark feel to everything. Like just a I don't want to say lo-fi because I don't think that's accurate on this. I think it's just really sparse. And with sparseness, sometimes there's a coldness or a loneliness or just a darkness that comes into it. And I think this has that. Really cool production. The vocals for me, at least as far as who I assume is rapping, who Teller Banks is on the record, sort of had a nasally tone to it for the most part, kind of like Danny Brown. This is going to sound so stupid, or sort of like Be Real. I know that sounds dumb, but it had just a really nasally sound to it. But I also think that Teller Banks did multiple vocals on here, and you can't always tell that it's the same person. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
he definitely changes his voice throughout the record. Yeah, and it's also delivered fast and smooth at times. Like Dan said, sometimes aggressive sounding. when it's real fast and stuff, that it almost made me think of Bone Thugs, which I mean,
Yes.
is just the smoothness of it all. It wasn't as sing-songy as Bone Thugs might be, but just really fast, smooth. The other MCs on here are phenomenal as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was at a sort of disadvantage because on Bandcamp, which is where I listened to it first, they don't list any of the other MCs. And so a lot of the times I was like, oh, is this Teller Banks doing other voices? But then it got to the point where I was like, this has to be definitely a different person on here. And it's awesome. If you look at it on Spotify, though, it does list all the other MCs and stuff. So that's cool to be able to look deeper into who else is rapping on here. And just looking through some of the other records and just the record covers, I watched a couple music videos that were really cool. I need to go back and listen to more of this stuff. It's not that I don't think this is representative of what Teller Banks does or wants to present at this point, but it seems like there's been sort of an evolution of sound and presentation over time. So I want to go back and listen to more and kind of see how that happened. So like I said, pretty short review from my standpoint because I don't have that history with hip hop to be able to say this sounds like this or this reminds me of this because I don't have it. But
Right.
As far as what I heard, I thought it was really cool. Like I said, I love the production on it. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think honestly, you hit the nail on the head there, Eric, with Bone Thugs and Harmony comparison, because there's definitely this dark eeriness to it. Like I said, it kind of almost has, and I was kind of hesitant to say it, but almost like on some of the darker tracks, Demons being the one that I think is the most obvious, having somewhat of a horrorcore element to it, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it's not there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I don't think it's not there.
Absolutely. But Bone Thugs and Harmony also had that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, and also I feel like the other thing that I forgot to mention that I also wrote in my review is there's actually a lot of, I feel like, paying homage to older hip hop artists on here. Like there's that, I don't remember what track it is. I think it might be Fetty Wap, or maybe it's actually Demons, where he actually quotes the Busta Rhymes song.
Got you all in check.
Got you all in check. And then he also talks about LL Cool J. He references LL Cool J. And
right.
I feel like there's probably a lot more references on there that I'm missing. But, and then also, like, whenever I think about like more high pitched like rappers, the first one that always comes to mind for me is Q-Tip. So that was a good call on Be Real because totally 100%. I also feel like he was doing a lot of, Teller Banks was also doing a lot of pitch shifting at times on his vocals as well, which I think adds a lot of effect. And then the other thing that I also forgot to mention, and one of the reasons why I feel like this was a healthy blend of like underground, and I don't know, I kind of want to go back on one of my statements. I don't really want to say old school because boom bap, I would say more underground, because boom bap is not really, it's not dead. It's not old school. There's still a lot of artists out there doing that, but underground boom bap and sort of like more modern stuff where you talked about the trap style stuff. There also is a little bit of auto tune on this record too, which really brings the, sort of brings in the current element as well.
Yeah,
or like,
kind of
I
that
guess,
part reminded me of like Lil Uzi Vert.
Yeah, little Uzi Vert or like something like that, or even like Future, or even like Fetty Wap, which he has a song named after, stuff like that. So I feel like another one of the great things about this record and is that he really does kind of, it's almost kind of like sonically almost like a history lesson of like a lot of different eras of hip hop. I feel like he really has done his homework. If that makes any sense. I mean, obviously Teller Banks is I think I found records as far back as 2013. So he's been kind of doing this for a while now. And I haven't actually gone back and listened to any of his stuff, but just like Quelle Chris, and I hate bringing up the Quelle Chris, like kind of comparing the two records, but at the same time, I do feel like there are some similarities in presentation. You know what I mean? And so, and I also want to say that if you're into hip hop, I feel like you should check out both of these records. If you're a hip hop fan and you're listening to this podcast, check out both of these records. They're both fantastic. And check out Kill Alters too. I mean, check out all three. I just feel like there actually were some parallels with actually, I mean, in all honesty, all three records in some ways. But yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry. I'm starting to do a second review here. But there were just some key points that I realized I forgot to mention. Yeah, you should definitely check all this stuff out, man. It's it's exciting.
I did see that Teller Banks does play live.
Yes.
So
and I kind of want to say, I could be wrong about this, but I kind of want to say that he might have actually been on some bills with and I could be wrong about this, with OBS, who of course we interviewed.
Sure.
And it's just exciting to me to see that there is hip hop music coming from Iowa, because you just never hear about it.
Or at least we don't.
Yeah, or at least we don't, exactly. But I mean, also just like you can't really say Midwest, because there's a lot of bigger artists from the Midwest, like Chicago. You have Kanye and Chance the Rapper and stuff like that. Minneapolis, you have Atmosphere, and Rhyme Sayers and stuff like that. But as far as Iowa, Iowa, Des Moines in the metal world at least has Slipknot.
Right.
There hasn't really been any Iowa representation of hip hop.
Not quite on the map.
Exactly, not quite on the map, and it's just exciting to me.
It's just going to be a matter of time, though.
I think
heard some really good stuff. I also have to say that Teller Banks utilizing the Grinnell, Iowa City highway sign on I-80, where it says Grinnell 6, Iowa City 66.
Yep.
I've looked at that for decades and been like, oh, that's fucking ill. It says 666. And so I'm glad that someone used it.
Absolutely. And that's on I believe that's on one of his earlier albums, right?
It looks like it's shown up on a couple different things. So maybe he's utilized it a few times. So
cool. So check this stuff out, man, because there is hip hop being made in your backyard right now. All you have to do is look out the window. It's being made right now. Somebody's out there doing it. So what did we learn today? We learned about hip hop.
Yeah, hip hopping.
This is the most hip hoppinest podcast. You wanna do a bar right now, Eric? Freestyle?
I'm good.
Okay. You know what?
I would just embarrass myself.
You're the one who made the right decision, Eric, because I would have just mindlessly done it. But if you're
I don't have anything to say, let alone really fast and rhyming.
Yeah, same here. You can fast though and then rhyme.
Oh yeah.
Just not eat for like 20 hours and then rhyme.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, you got to be hungry, right?
Exactly.
That's
so
what
you know
say.
What? You can actually like rhyme about your fasting experience.
Okay.
Sounds angry.
Like a deal. I'm so hangry.
I'm hangry. Well, I guess that sounded more like an industrial metal vocal, didn't it?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
As usual, folks, send us messages. Let us know.
Telepathically.
Don't worry about Instagram or Facebook, or anything like that. Just send them to our minds. That's all you need to do. We'll get them eventually. When we check our minds, we check our heads.
You got telepathy.
Yeah. You
Goodbye.
Those
You've got
voicemails.
brain mail.
You brain mail. You've got telepathy. That was good, Eric. I like that. Okay, so for real though, if you want to interact with us, let us know on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just keep listening, man. Thank you for supporting the podcast.
Nice.
Yep, absolutely. I honestly don't have anything else to say right now.
Yeah,
Eric.
I'm all out of words. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm out of stuff. Support Iowa hip hop. That's what I want to say more than anything else right now.
Wow. Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Iowa's okay. I mean,
Iowa's
actually Oklahoma's okay, but Iowa is pretty good.
Yeah, Iowa's pretty good. Iowa is that should be our slogan. It's pretty good.
Iowa's pretty good.
It's not bad.
I like it. State motto. Oh man. Okay.
All right. Good hearing from you guys again. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Have a good one.
All right. Do your goddamn job, damn.